Yah, righteousness, Jerusalem, and the Holy Seed. Yah bless everyone, our international and national audience. This is February the 2nd, 2022. Hope everybody is in as great as health as possible. I hope it's, all of you who are, wherever you are not having the snow we're getting in Chicago today. Been snowing all night and look like it's going to snow most of the day. But hope everybody is safe and in good stead and have your mind stayed on Yah, our righteousness, the King. I want to thank everybody out there who gives us our, or should I say their, mental, spiritual, physical support. We appreciate it with all our heart. And we pray that Yah blesses you for your mental, spiritual, and physical support. All that's from the heart. Today I'm going to talk about some things I've mentioned in the past, last year, that I was in the midst of a situation and I didn't know, what Yah was going to do with it, how it was going to turn out. It has basically precluded, and he spanked me because I've gotten, I dealt in a presumptuous manner. Again, when we make errors, as I've said in the past, I don't like to make them, but every now and then I do make them. And I always hope that when I do make an error, it's the last time I'll ever make it. It was, I used to pray for this a lot over the years. Here in the last, I don't know, maybe year and a half, couple of years. It really hasn't been in my prayers, but, maybe that's why I possibly erred in this manner. And I'm bringing it to all of your attention, all of you out there, your attention, so you can be cognizant of this. I'm going to read Psalms 19, Psalm of David. The heavens declare the glory of Yah, and the firmament shows his handiwork. Day unto day utters speech, and night and unto night shows knowledge. There is no speech nor language where their voice is not heard. Their line is gone out through all the earth, and their words to the end of the world. In them has he set, Yah, right, a tabernacle for the sun, which is as a bridegroom coming out of his chamber, and rejoices as a strong man to run a race. His goings forth is from the end of the heaven, and his circuit unto the ends of it. And there is nothing hid from the heat thereof. Let you know the sun moves. It's not stationary like we're taught in the way of man, right? Verse 7, the law of Yah is perfect, converting the soul. The testimony of Yah is sure, making wise the simple. The statutes of Yah are right, rejoicing the heart. The commandment of Yah is pure, enlightening the eyes. And again, when you see that the law of Yah is perfect, converting the soul, the law of Yah changes not, because he changes not. Malachi 3:6, right? The tried cornerstone, the sure foundation, Yeshaya chapter 28, that's the law, right? The testimony of Yah is sure, making wise the simple. Again, the testimony to those things that have been substantiated and confirmed. As Yah says, we shall not be talebearers, and we can't speak on things that we truly don't know for a fact. I've been guilty of that in the past, in regards to intimating that certain people were not the actual gender that they project. And in actuality, I did not really know this for a fact. Okay? I read this article, I'm pretty sure it was in 2020, about this Lurie's hospital here in Chicago. And I know it's other hospitals around the country. I know Lurie's is probably not the only hospital that's doing this, without a doubt. Even though, I don't know for a fact that there are other hospitals that are doing this, but I'm, in my mind, I have a strong belief that there are other hospitals doing these changes with youth, babies, changing babies into, males to female hormones and chromosomes, and the opposite, changing females to males, males to females. We know this is going on, which again, this is underscoring Daniel chapter 2, the mingling of the seed. Because from what I understand, they are also, we know they're doing GMOs, genetically modified organisms, right? With foodstuffs and animals. Okay, that's factual, right? And they're doing the same thing with human beings. That's what this article, I'm pretty sure it was in 2020. I'm almost certain of that. And I mentioned the article, read some things out of it, how at this Lurie's hospital they've been doing this for years, because they had a person highlighted in the article, a picture of this person. If I remember correctly, he, she, he, I can't remember how they switched them at birth, you know what I mean, how they messed with his or her chromosomes, genes and whatnot, to make him, if I'm not, if I'm not misremembering, pretty sure he was pursued, this person was, presented as a male. But I know it was a suit in by this person and some others on Lurie's hospital here in Chicago. I haven't heard anything else about it. Haven't seen any articles about it. But also I mentioned that it was a petition that had, been formed and brought about. And many different people had signed this petition. As I said when I did the article, Gabriella Union, the actress, Dwayne Wade's wife, she had signed the petition. And I'm pretty sure I mentioned at the time, but it didn't say Dwayne Wade signed it. Okay, because one of his children, I think his youngest child, has been tampered with. Okay, you know what I mean. I can't remember. I think he was a male, but he thinks he's a female, or he has the chromosomes, the genes, or whatever they've done to what they do to these children, right? And again, when I talked about it, this is what I was discussing this with the Kobe Hadassah, and because they sent some things here, hadn't watched it because I just hadn't had the chance to watch it. They sent this. They told me a couple of years or so ago. I think it was 2019, 2020. But they actually saw this documentary about it, about how they tampered with chromosomes, hormones, genes, whatnot, right? And when I say they, the uh, medical industrial complex. Okay. But again, this is talked about in Daniel chapter 2, the mingling of the seed. In these days, the last days of this fourth dominion of man, and how they would start mingling the seeds across the board, food stuff, animals, more likely insects, and human beings. And that's why Yah says, in the days of these kings, in the last days of this fourth dimension of man, the latter part of this fourth dimension, when the world gets down, evidently, the way I see it, in the feet and toes, pot iron, part clay. Okay? And I read something years ago. Like I've said, I mentioned it in the past. One of these Rothschilds, I can't remember his name, his first name, but back in the latter part of the 19th century, he was starting to deal with eugenics with flowers. Okay, that's in the latter part of the 19th century, coming into the 20th century. And so they have just escalated this throughout the 20th century on into the 21st century. And like I said, we can see this. And this has been going on, and this more likely than not in the 56th chapter of Yeshaya, when Yah says, even the eunuchs that choose the things that please me, right? That come to Yah, submit and embrace the law, his law with that light, right? Proverbs chapter 6, with all their heart and soul, he would even give them a place in his dominion. It says kingdom, right? But the kingdom is Yah's, always has been, always will be. But he has given man dominion at different times. Now he's setting up his dominion, the everlasting dominion. That's what it's talking about in Micah chapter 4. The first dominion, because Yah's dominion was the first dominion on earth. And so we know they've been doing this. And this is possibly why you have people, and they've been doing this a long time, for years. Like I said, that person that was spotlighted in the article I read, I'm pretty sure it was 2020. She was like in the middle 40s. So that tells you right there, and they started prior to that. Okay? And this is possibly why we've seen, as I did when I was growing up, and I'm sure many, if not all of you, as you have, been growing up, you've seen those who look, projected a male gender, but had female tendencies, right? We've seen females that, projected a female gender, but had male tendencies, okay? And, different terms have been derogatory terms, right? That have come about to been placed connotation-wise on these type people, right? It's a lot of times denigrating, degrading. So, without truly understanding what has been perpetrated on them. But again, this is more likely than not why in the 56th chapter of Yeshaya, these when they were children, babies, this was done to them. They had nothing to say about it. It was not their choice. So now Yah is leaving the door open for them. Once he lifts up his holy name in his way, as it says at the back end of chapter 61, Yeshaya, he's going to cause righteousness and praise to spring forth before all the nations. Possibly you've had, different males, females, who have come up, who have been, this has been done to, right? uh, gender change, attacked by the medical industrial complex. And this has been done to, again, it wasn't their choice, but now possibly some of them are seeking the Creator. Okay? We know at some point, and I would say closer than further away, I would think real close now, that Yah is going to cause this righteousness and praise, His movement, His holy name, His way, the consecration and anointing of Him in the sight of the whole human family to spring forth before all the nations. But we know this won't happen until Yah judges those Edomites, Jews that are in the land of Israel today, calling themselves Israelites, and they are not. The hypocrites, Yeshaya chapter 33 that we've talked about in the past. And when He suddenly makes them run away from the land of Israel into their land, south of the Dead Sea, the land of Idumea, Basra, Seir, to be judged, when Yah does that, that's when He will bring these elite monarchies, kings and queens, princes who have been sprinkled, Yeshaya chapter 52, with the publication over 17 years ago. And when they were sprinkled, then the Spirit of Yah started shaping and molding them for the time to come, preparing them for the time to come. Yeshaya chapter 41. He will bring them to His holy name and His way in total submission unto Him. Yeshaya chapter 60, Yeshaya chapter 49, Daniel 7:13, because they will come submissive to the arm of Yah, the movement of Yah, our righteousness, and will bring Yah's arm to Him in the sight of everybody on the earth, with Yah on the head of us, Yah our righteousness, and He at our rearward. Again, Yeshaya chapter 52. And in so doing, Yah will give everybody on the earth that's acceptable in His sight a chance to choose between Him and whatever else. Because again, we know most people don't understand really what's going on. They've been misdirected, and their minds have been contaminated and polluted with misdirection and lies and deception. Because most people of color, especially, definitely Israel, I won't say especially, but definitely Israel, but most people of color, as I was just witnessing this morning, Israelite football coach, used to coach the Miami Dolphins until he just got fired. He has filed a suit against the National Football League's owners and against the National Football League for discrimination and deception. His name is Brian Flores, and so that's been the talk this morning on news. Mentioned it last night and talking about it this morning. And as I listened to it, as I was getting ready to do the session this morning, you have so many of these, Israelites, males and females, that are in the news world, in the sports news world, analyzing this situation of this suit by this Israelite coach, Brian Flores. I'm certain that's what he is. And many of these analysts are Israelites, and they all think it's about pigmentation, as most people do, whether they're Israelites, Yephites, descendants of Shem. I think it's, pigmentation is the reason that these things are being done to them, and it's not that at all. It's in nationality. It's all about nationality. And again, if you're an Israelite, you're under a curse. Simple as that. And if you are a descendant of Jerusalem, Israelite descendant of Jerusalem, you're under a double curse, right? You remember chapter 16. Because of what the descendants of Jerusalem eventually did in turning their back on Yah and allowing the people to go astray, and not keeping a breach from occurring. That's why those of us descendants of Jerusalem today who have sought Yah out, turn to him with all our heart and soul, and the instruments that he's working through to establish him in Jerusalem forever, to establish his government, his laws, statutes, ordinances, judgments, commandments, and precepts, which are the foundation, the sure foundation, the tried cornerstone of Yah's government. We are under a double curse because of what our forefathers didn't do. Seed of David, the seed of Zadok, the seed of David, as we see in the so-called Book of the Kings, which should be the Book of the Governors, went away from Yah, went away from the law. As we see with the seed of Zadok, high priest seed, went away from Yah, went away from the law, which is our duty to project Yah's laws, statutes, ordinances, judgments, commandments, and precepts, because that is the tool that we judge ourselves and everything and everyone with and by. And in doing so, we see how Yah operates, the operation of his hands. And again, back here in this chapter 19, Psalms, right? Again, so we can testify to the validity of Yah's laws, statutes, ordinances, judgments, commandments, and precepts. The statutes of Yah are right, rejoicing the heart. The commandment of Yah is pure, enlightening the eyes. The fear of Yah is clean, enduring forever. And we know from Proverbs what the wisest man ever will be wrote, Solomon, right? That the beginning of wisdom is the fear of Yah. Because if you fear Yah, you're going to obey him. Simple, not complicated. And we're going to do all we can to adhere and be in harmony with his laws, statutes, ordinances, judgments, commandments, and precepts. Okay? And again, at times, being human beings of flesh, we make a mistake. We make an error. Right? That's why today, we offer up the cares of our lips. Right? Because there is no priesthood now. There is no temple now. And that's where the offerings and the tithes began, right? In that sense, with the temple. Now, we see at different times, Abraham made an offering to Yah, right? That's what it says, right? We see Israel made an offering, right? But again, there were no tithes prior to, even though we see what it's written that Jacob said he would give a tenth to Yah if Yah brought him back, right? As he went to Haran, you understand what I'm saying? After he, deceived his father to get the blessing, but in actuality, he was going to get the blessing anyway, right? We know he made an error listening to his mother, right? His mother got ahead of Yah. We cannot get ahead of Yah. We have to trust in him and wait on him continually. Okay? But we've talked about that, right? How Rebecca got ahead of Yah. She looked at she was doing the right thing, but it was wrong because she got ahead of Yah and formulated her own plan. Jacob knew it was incorrect, right? He said that, but he submitted to her will. And now when he deceived his father, because he's going to get the blessing anyway, it's already been told before the boys was born, right? But he made this move, did what his mother wanted him to do, deceived his father, Isaac, right? And he got the blessing he was going to get anyway. But now he sets himself up for recompense, which we see he got 7 years later. And then he exacerbated the situation, right? Taking two sisters to wife to be a vexation to one another in their lifetime. He knew the law, so you understand, but he was lusting, wanting to have his own way, right? Which again, that's why Solomon wrote in Proverbs, right? Beauty is vain, favor is deceitful, right? The woman that fears Yah, she's the one to be desired, okay? We've talked about this, right? Leah feared Yah, Raquel didn't. At some point, Raquel kind of got herself together, but then she vacillated, given to change. We see what Solomon wrote about those who are subject to change, vacillating back and forth. You can't meddle with those, right? And again, that's why Yah did not allow Raquel to make it all the way back to the land of Canaan with Israel, Yaakov, Israel, because his name was changed to Israel in chapter 32 Genesis, right? Because again, she was about Raquel. We've talked about this, right? She wasn't totally committed and submitted to Yah as Leah was, right? So, you know, the fear of Yah is clean, enduring forever. The judgments of Yah are true and righteous altogether. Okay? And we see in Leviticus chapter 26 that, we have to acknowledge our iniquity. And in doing so, accept of Yah's punishment, whatever that is. Again, we offer up the calves of our lips. We pray to Yah that he will be merciful with us and not judge us in his wrath and indignation, but in his mercy and compassion. And pray he always has us to fall in his hands and not in the hands of man, for great are the mercies of Yah. See? And as I continue on, right, verse 10, more to be desired are they than gold, Yah's judgments, right, and righteousness, and the fear of Yah, right, is more to be desired than gold, yes, than much fine gold, sweeter also than the sweetness of the honeycomb. And again, when I say honeycomb, we're not talking about the bee, okay? Could, very well the maple tree, right? Because we know we're not to eat bee products. The bee is unclean. Moreover, by them is thy servant warned, and in keeping of them there is great reward, in keeping his laws, statutes, ordinances, judgments, commandments, and precepts. And again, humility is before honor, is it not? So we must acknowledge our wrongs, the things that we do that are not right in the sight of Yah, when we make mistakes, right? Who can understand his errors? Cleanse thou me from secret faults. Keep back thy servant also from presumptuous sins. Let them not have dominion over me. I used to pray for that all the time. And then about the last year and a half, 2 years, that hasn't actually been in my prayers that way. But I've always, held that still. But here last year, after my mother transitioned, she, passed. I was thinking about it, like, sell the building, and get a somewhat smaller place, than what we've got here. Didn't need necessarily all this room. And also wanted to basically, leave from where we are now, get more secluded, looking for peace, right? More peace, if I could get it. and get away from some things I got to deal with being here that I've talked about in the past. That was my mind. When I brought it to Yada, she was like, "Nah, let's stay here." That was her first mind. But I'm like, but then she said, "But Yuda, that's the thing about Yada. She'll voice her mind, but then she's with me, whatever I want to do." That's the way she's been. I wouldn't have her any other way. She's going to tell me just what she thinks, what's in her heart. But then, her top and bottom line is, but whatever you want to do, Yahudah, I'm with you, because she's here to help me, and that's what she's been to this very day. A helpmate, you know. Some wives or women forget that, and they want to be competitive with their husband. This is not about competition, okay? And some, situations have been brought to me. People have talked to me about some of these situations that they find themselves in, and their mate, their helpmate wants to be competitive and doesn't possibly. They don't even realize that that's what they're exuding, right? Competitiveness, but that's what it amounts to. This is not a race between any of us, okay? This is not a competition to see how much one knows more than the other, okay? Because again, it's going to be things that you won't see that somebody else will see, and some things that you'll see that that person or somebody else won't see. And Yah works through all of us at different times to bring, and we see this in this book, right? At different times, Yah brought his illumination through, that person who was in harmony with him, perfect with him at that time in their heart. And it might have been some others that were perfect with Yah in their heart, but he worked through this person or that person. We see this in the book. It could be a male, it could be a female Israelite. As I've said before, we only see where Yah worked through to bring his word through one other person who was an Israelite, and that's Balaam, the son of Beor, the Midianite. And again, we see, at that time, Balaam turned away from Yah. He didn't put Yah first. He wasn't perfect with Yah as he possibly had been, being a Midianite, a seed of Abraham. And he left Yah, but Yah still worked through him. But later on, we see what happened to Balaam. He was killed by Israel. That's in the book of Numbers. But again, this is not competitive. Things are established in council. Okay? And a lot of times people would see more. They would get more illumination if they didn't have a competitive spirit, if they didn't have a denigrating spirit, if they didn't have a self-exaltation motive in mind. Okay? Again, I'll read verse 12 again in this chapter 19. Who can understand his or her errors? Cleanse thou me from secret faults. Remember, this is a prayer of David. Keep back thy servant also from presumptuous sins. To presume or assume is not good. That's what I did last year. And to sell the building like basically was sold in 7 days, quick, once it was put on the market. And I assumed that, y'all was for this move. And then we were looking at different places. I got weary of looking at places because, again, when you go looking at places to purchase, that are already, have been occupied by previous family, okay, as this agent told me, Caucasian agent, she said, Israel, everybody's not as clean as you. Um, and I already knew that, but at the same time, you know what I mean? When you actually experience it, because you see these homes, on the internet, they look one way, uh, and like many of them were no older than like 20 years, maybe give or take a little bit, right? And they look great on the internet, but once you actually pull up and go into them and look at them, then you see if, all depending on how acute your eye is. And even I don't care how acute your eye is, you're still not going to see everything because you have to have it. If you see a place that you perceive as the place that you want to get, as we did, you still got to get it inspected. But before you get it inspected, I signed papers and whatnot to sign this to be sold, this building here, right? Because it's going to, you know, be the finance for the new place. And that's what I did. And before I did it, I remember I asked, my representative, Caucasian, what if I don't, if something happens? She said, well, it's always a way to get out of selling your property. Nobody can make you sell, right? But I was presumptuous. I should have had a clause in there saying, I'm only selling if I find what I'm looking for. Should have put that stipulation in there. I didn't do it. I assumed, because y'all allowed this building to be sold in 7 days, when we saw this place that we both liked, superficially, what we could see with our eye, right? That was the place. So I signed the papers. Now, the machinery is in operation. It's in the works now that this building is going to be sold to an Israelite who wanted to purchase this building. I mean, he was, totally enamored, as a few others were, but he, had the bid. And now, once we had the place inspected that we were going to get, then the report comes back and it had problems that we didn't see with the naked eye. And, when I actually looked at it, then I could see this property had not been maintained through the years, even though it was only about 20 years old, built brand new. It had problems. So now I had to negate that deal, but now I'm under the situation to sell this. And we looked at a lot of places last year, a lot of places. And like I said, a lot of them, were not up to snuff when you actually go look at them. And every time we would go, you learn something. Every time you go look at the place, you learn something. You get more of an education. We saw a couple of more places, another one that we really liked, put the bid in, but bid was not accepted. They always come up, with something to tell you why your bid was not accepted. Um, and I'm pretty sure it possibly came down to top and bottom line. It was Yah. I mean, that's without question. Didn't let it happen. Whatever reasons that, because these were Caucasians, that we were who owned the property prior, right, who was selling it. And more likely than not, when they typed in my name in the internet, when they saw that name, and then, they, saw me, met me, or was told about, me, and they typed my name in the internet, then YHWH righteousness popped up. And for whatever reason, being it pigmentation, but more likely than not orientation and what I project, what I promulgate, what I'm about, they wouldn't sell to me. And then another place we saw was even, we liked it even more than the next place, right? And put in the bid, and I know I had the top bid. That's without question. Even though they don't tell you this, but the way the thing fell, I knew I had the top bid. They wouldn't sell. They took somebody else's bid, which I know it wasn't, as much, but they said they were gonna keep us in mind, you know what I mean. But I knew after that, I told Yah, I'm through with it, cause this is Yah. And the person who was purchasing this place, I called him, had him come back, looked at him in his eye, told him what was happening. And we, in having a conversation, we found out that, his agent, my agent, were conspiring, trying to get this sale done. And like I told him, well, you know what that is. They told him a lie, told me a lie. But I told him, you know why that is, because they want to just make money. But I thought we had an agreement, the two of us, because I told him, I would, I was through looking for that period and coming into this year. And he was like, well, he was presumptuous. He had made some moves on presumption. And I told him, I said, well, he said, man, I've lost some money. I said, so have I. So I thought we had an agreement, but it turned around where a couple of months later, he, put a litigation on me through his solicitor. That's an Edomite. And so, it ended up, my representative, he's Irish, very nice guy. Never met him, but I'm going to in the near future. We've only talked on the phone. He was very empathetic to my position because he worked for the realtor that I was working through. But we had conversations, and as I told him, time and again, when we were turned down for the two other places after the initial place didn't meet up expectations. I told him, I said, I'm not upset with anybody. They don't want to sell to me. That's their prerogative. And the top and bottom line is Yah. And again, I look at it, Yah did this because I was presumptuous, assumed, okay, and not, looking well to my way. So, in the top and bottom line, this situation, I had offered the person who wanted to, who had basically signed to purchase this place. Like I said, I thought we had an agreement, and he asked me, could I take, something off the price. I told him, yeah, I could do that. I know, he's been inconvenienced, but like I said, he came back and got a Edomite solicitor to put litigation on me, and that what I offered ended up, I know the Edomite saw my name and put it on the internet and saw, and I had to see them the other day and take them a check, right, for what I offered. They wanted 5 times that much, and so it ended up being close to that. So I had to take care of that, and again, that's we have to accept of our punishment, right? And it's from Yah, because I was presumptuous, assumed. I can't stress that enough. In that one instance, and left myself, unprotected, because when you presume or assume, Yah is not with presumptuousness or assumptions. You have to trust in Yah and look well to your way. See? So, like I said, I'm not upset with anyone. I accepted my punishment, and I just thank Yah that He's allowed me to be able to deal with it. And Yada, we were talking the other week, and as always, she tells me what's in her heart, but she always tells me, Yahudah, I'm with you. Whatever you decide to do, I'm with you. 100%, 1000%. She's been that way from day one, and she's that way today. And that's a helpmate, And at times, we discuss things. We might not necessarily agree on the thing, but we counsel on it. We might not agree initially. It might go on for a while before Yah illuminates us, brings us into harmony. And that's okay. Because again, you don't move on a thing until you are in harmony, about it per se, right? Basically, right? But like I said, sometimes I've moved. We might not actually been in harmony. Sometimes it ends up, working out the way I saw it. Sometimes it worked out the way she saw it. Okay? But, again, you're supposed to counsel, right? And what does it say? Verse 13 in this chapter 19 Psalms, let them not have dominion over me, presumptuous sins, right? Then shall I be upright, and I shall be innocent from the great transgression. Okay? Because we acknowledge Yah in all our ways, and He directs our path. So we can't be presumptuous or assume. That's why we've got the law. That's why we acknowledge Yah, and we look well to our way, right? Because it's always, like I said, I took for granted, because this sold so quick, that, He was for it and didn't cover myself like I should have. And it came to my mind, but I went on, proceeded on anyway. And bad move. Okay? Let the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable in thy sight, O Yah, my strength and my redeemer. Okay? And we have to remember these things. Okay? And always to acknowledge Yah in all our ways and never get ahead of Yah. Never assume or presume. Look well to our way. Because when you do that now, okay, I'll just go over here to chapter 34 Psalms. I will bless Yah at all times. His praise shall continually be in my mouth. My soul shall make her boast in Yah. The humble shall hear thereof and be glad. You hear that? The humble. Right? I was just saying to my brother last night, how you get these people who are so prideful and egotistical, arrogant, and as I've said in the past, I have nothing for people like that. I've never had anything for the proud and the arrogant and the egotistical. Oh, magnify Yah with me, and let us exalt His name together. I sought Yah, and He heard me, and delivered me from all my fears. Okay? Because when I found myself in this situation that I put us in, Yah and me, now I like had fear. I didn't. You don't want to be under pressure to have to move, right? So now it was either drawing this out, and as I talked to uh, a couple of different solicitors again, and the one that he's Irish and very empathetic, and we've had conversations since last year, and he recommended another person. I talked to him. Pretty sure he's like Irish too. He handles that part of that type of solicitation and litigation. And he told me, you're more likely than not you're going to have to, come to some kind of agreement with this person. And like I said, this person who wanted to buy the building, I thought he was reasonable, but evidently when he, more likely than not, if it wasn't all his mind, it was the Edomite solicitor who he, attained. And I know what the Edomite solicitor, when he saw my name and ran it up on the internet and saw what I'm talking about, he really wanted to stick it to me. Okay, but because like I said, I had to go see them the other day, to drop off this check, and I got the vibe, okay, okay, but it's okay. Like I said, I'm not mad at anybody. I don't hate anybody. I take my whipping from Yah, from my era, with grace and total acceptance, my fault. And I just pray that I never make that error or any other errors again, right? And that's what we have to do when we make an error, okay? And again, that's Leviticus 26, 40, 41, and 42, is it not? Except of our punishment for our iniquity, for our sins, for our errors and mistakes. We don't want to exacerbate them. Don't want to be like Esau or Uzzah, right? Or Saul, right? And that's just three, right? Primary ones that I'm sure most of you, if not all of you, know about. And if you haven't, then you go in there and you read what happened with them. Okay? Verse 5, chapter 34, Psalms. They looked unto him and were lightened. Okay? Looked unto Yah, and their faces were not ashamed. This poor man cried, and Yah heard him and saved him out of all his troubles. The angel of Yah encamps round about them that fear him and delivers them. O taste and see that Yah is good. Blessed is the man that trusts in him. O fear Yah, ye his saints, for there is no want to them that fear him. The young lions do lack and suffer hunger, but they that seek Yah shall not want any good thing. Come, ye children, hearken unto me. I will teach you the fear of Yah. What man is he that desires life and loves many days, that he may see good? Keep thy tongue from evil and thy lips from speaking guile. That's why I've said in the past what Solomon said, put perverse lips far from thee. And as I was talking to brother last night, he was telling me, he said, I got to work. I said, yeah, pray. Pray to Yah to strengthen you. Turn toward Jerusalem. Humble yourself. Pray to Yah. As I've said to all of you at different times through the years, never underestimate the power of prayer. Humility is before honor. We have to humble ourselves before Yah. As I said in the past, I pray every morning to Yah. Every morning when I first wake up. Generally in the middle of the day. Okay? And also before I go to bed. That's every day. Okay? That's every day. Sometimes I I might not be able to pray in the middle of the day because I might be on the phone talking about you, talking about Yah. Okay, but you know, it's at least twice a day, most times 3 times a day, every day. Okay, uh, and you know, the proud, the arrogant, egotistical, they're being systematically, removed from the face of the earth. Because if you come to Yah, you have to humble yourself. Humility is before honor. Okay? The angel of Yah encampeth round about them that fear him and delivers them. O taste and see that Yah is good. Blessed is the man that trusts in him. And woman, right? O taste and see that Yah is good. Blessed is the man and woman that trust in him. O fear Yah, ye his saints, for there is no want to them that fear him. The young lions do lack and suffer hunger, but they that seek Yah shall not want any good thing. Come, ye children, hearken unto me. I will teach you the fear of Yah. What man is he that desires life and loves many days, that he may see good? Keep thy tongue from evil and thy lips from speaking guile. Depart from evil and do good. Seek peace and pursue it. Depart from evil and do good. Seek peace and pursue it. The eyes of Yah are upon the righteous, and his ears are open unto their cry. See, we offer up the calves of our lips, supplications, right? Hosea 14th chapter, right? Solomon's supplication, right? Yah's ears are constantly open, right? To hear the cry of those who humble themselves before him and call upon him in righteousness, in truth, seeking mercy and forgiveness. Say, the face of Yah is against them that do evil, to cut off the remembrance of them from the earth. The righteous cry, and Yah heareth and delivers them out of all their troubles. Yah is nigh unto them that are of a broken heart and save such as be of a contrite spirit. That's similar to Yeshaya chapter 57, is it not? Yah dwells with the contrite and humble spirit, to revive the spirit of the humble and the heart of the contrite. Right? Yah is nigh unto them that are of a broken heart, and save such as be of a contrite spirit. Many are the afflictions of the righteous. And if that's so, possibly I'm righteous, because many afflictions. Many afflictions. But Yah delivers him or her out of them all. That's why you don't leave Yah for any reason at any time. That's why you put perverse lips far from thee. As I've said, when you utter profaneness, perverseness, Yah's not with that. He's not with you when you do that. When you do that, you just left it. And you can't keep doing it, because if you keep leaving Yah, at some point the door will be shut. You won't be able to get to him. Especially when this has been brought to your attention. See, now again, as I said to the brother last night, you got to pray. You got to humble yourself. Turn toward Jerusalem and pray. See, and the proud, the egotistical, the prideful, they're not going to do that. Humility is before honor. Right? Wisdom is the principal thing. In his right hand is length of days. Your days shall be multiplied. Isn't that what Moshe told our forefathers in Deuteronomy after he gave them the law? It's not a vain thing to you, O Israel. This is your wisdom and understanding in the sight of these nations. And by the keeping of this law, with all its statutes, ordinances, judgments, commandments, and precepts, right, your days shall be multiplied. Your days shall be prolonged, right? Right? And in his left hand is riches and honor, durable riches and honor. But humility, humbleness, meekness is before honor. Okay? Yah keeps all his or her bones. Not one of them is broken. Hmm? Evil shall slay the wicked, and they that hate the righteous shall be desolate, in ruination. Yah redeems the soul of his servants, and none of them that trust in him shall be desolate, in ruination. That's why Yah is salvation and Yah alone. Not weapons, not gold or silver, rubies, diamonds, sapphires. Yah is salvation. He and he alone. He gives, he takes away. Blessed be the name of Yah. He's what's most important. So we seek Yah out, we find Yah, we cleave unto him constantly. Because anyone that finds out about Yah and leaves Yah for any reason doesn't understand. Again, how long can one vacillate back and forth before, they leave Yah and then they try to come back and the door is shut forever, permanently. Because they've cut themselves off, not from their people, as Esau's got in his book in many places. They've cut themselves off from he who creates, the tree of life, the founder of living waters, the spirit and creator of all things, Yah, our righteousness, the King. That's who you don't want to be cut off from. Again, Jacob and Hadassah talking to them, and Yah works through them to me, and I'm blessed, and all of us, from the things that Yah has brought through them to this movement, his movement, the movement that they are committed to, and again, Yah, our righteousness. And they pointed things out to me, because I remember how I interpreted the 53rd chapter of Yeshaya, right? Hadassah never was in harmony with that. She was like, I don't know, that's some years back, right? But now, through the years, and they brought to me here the other week, when you look at this 53rd chapter of Yeshaya, and I'm in agreement with what the illuminated Edomite has done, as we see, because we see this because last night Shalom called me, and he brought to me, he was having a conversation with these guys, because he told me he's going to try to hook us all up, hook me in with this conversation tonight with these same Israelites who are caught in this, New Testament, and definitely with certain things like Melchizedek. They don't know that's an implant, even though he told me what he said to him. Again, and I was having a conversation yesterday with two brothers. One's in Long Island, and the other one is in South Carolina, and they're brothers, um, but paternal brothers, paternal. And the one wanted the other one, they both know they're Israel, but one of them's caught up in the New Testament. So the other one wanted me to, have a conversation with him. And so I see these conversations are going on, right? Because like I say, Shalom called later on, told me he had been in conversation with these brothers. Basically, pretty much about the same thing. But, the brothers I was talking to yesterday, as I said to the one who's caught up in the New Testament, I listened to him. He talked about 30 minutes. I didn't say a word. I just listened, took mental notes, and, trusting Yah to lead me, to, say the things that hopefully would resonate on him, where he could see the deception of the New Testament, overall. And ended up, I don't know, I think Esau cut the, after I had said these things and said them a couple of times and went back, said it again when he brought back to me. And because I had said to him, before I said to him the second time, kind of a little bit different, but basically the same thing. I said, brother, I don't, because I had already told him when I started talking, after he, said everything about 30 minutes, I hadn't said a word, I listened. And then when he said, okay, I'm listening, in other words, I'm through, you got the floor, right? And I said to him, first of all, I'm not trying to, convert you, convince you, recruit or reform you. I'm not trying to do any of those things. And you asked me, and I'm going to, go where Yah leads me. And I started talking to him to debunk, certain things, because he had mentioned Yeshaya chapter 7. And I went there first and dealt with that. That was a sign for Ahaz. That had to happen before Ahaz died. He died in 728 BCE. So he had to see the sign of Emmanuel before he died. So this is not talking about somebody born 700 some odd years later. He never did say yay or nay on that. Okay, but I couldn't get it any plainer than that, right? Explained it, the scenario, the whole scenario, chapter 7. And, underscored it with chapter 8, chapter 8, 18 through the 20th verse, right? Even talked about what happened in chapter 8, what that's talking about. But then, Deuteronomy chapter 32, Deuteronomy chapter 30, what Moshe said to the children of Israel before he died, which was 1400 BCE, right? Daniel chapter 2. All these things that have come into being, ideologically, invention-wise, right? Your computers on four wheels, your cars, your SUVs, that's all they are, like computers on four wheels, right? With all of the, chips and technology and all that stuff in them. Airplanes, that as we know them, with diesel fuel, and again, these, computers on four wheels, right? Combustible engines, right? Or diesel fuel, and they're emitting soot. I just read an article yesterday where they say thousands of people die every year. Thousands from inhaling soot, SOOT. And you've seen black carbon resonant, from combustible engines, had we not? Okay, see, and as I was saying, uh, brothers last night, all this stuff is trapped under the dome. You follow me? Can't get out. We're breathing this stuff. These supposed to be such great inventions, but we know now they are not. Okay, these things are killing so many people every year all across the earth, right? So again, when you look at Daniel chapter 2, and Yah is telling us there, right, that everything that was invented, every ideology that came into being, from the head of gold, Nebuchadnezzar, all the way down through these feet and toes, part iron, part clay, this diversified dominion, the fourth dominion, right, where the world is today. The whole earth is there today. We're in the last day of these four dominions of man. We know, again, it's dominions, not kingdom, because the kingdom is Yah. He gives dominion to whomever he gives it to at any given time, right? Now he's setting up his dominion. Micah 4, the first it's come full circle. It's coming back to Yah. He's setting up his dominion again. This time, though, his dominion will last forever. Not like it was at the beginning, where his dominion, as we see in Genesis chapter 6, verse 12, the people who had the law, had access to the law, corrupted his way. Isn't that what it says? Which means they had access to the law. They had the law, but they refused to submit to it. Okay, today the law is here. See, again, though, we've been in the fishing period from this, since the inception of Yah righteousness. I mean, again, even before, when the seal came off the book in 1896, Yah could be found if he was sought for. Again, Deuteronomy 30 verse 2, with all our heart and all our soul, he could be found. But Yah, our righteousness was not established until 1986, 90 years later after the seal came off the book. That's why, again, in 53 Yeshai was say, who shall declare his generation? Question mark. Now, I'm in 53, and this is what, again, Jacob and Hadassah brought to me. They said, Yehuda, what they did again, like they did with this Melchizedek in Genesis 15, right? I'm saying that, but we've talked about that too, Jacob and Hadassah and myself. I've mentioned that in the past. And they trying to combine the governorship and the priesthood. See? And you cannot combine the governorship and the priesthood. These are two different lines, bloodlines. You understand? One, the governorship is David. His seed, one out of his loins has to always be governor. You understand what I'm saying? Just like Zadok. You don't even see, and I mentioned this in the past, where Yah entered into an everlasting covenant with Zadok and his seed. The illuminated Edomites took that out, because with Melchizedek, the creation of that mythical character in Genesis 15, they're trying to, as you go through the book, they're trying to alleviate the high priest and the high priest duties. That's why after, pardon me, after Eleazar, you don't see a mention of a high priest, the term high priest. But Phineas, in the book of Judges, that's what he was. He was the high priest after Eleazar. Okay? Eli was the high priest, right? And after him, you get Samuel was the high priest. But you don't see the consecration of Samuel in the book. They took that out. Okay? Because as Jacob and Hadassah brought to me, the high priest, as we see, again, Malachi 3:6, Yah changes not. As we see in Genesis, right? Chapter 24 on to the end, I'm not Genesis, excuse me, Exodus, chapter 24, Exodus on, Yah is giving Moshe, right, the law of what? The tabernacle and the priesthood and the Levites. Moshe already had the law. He was already in harmony with the law of Yah. What was not in existence up until the time, you understand, when y'all brought children of Israel out of Egypt. There was no priesthood. That hadn't been set up yet. That hadn't even been established. There had been no tabernacle for Yah prior to that. That's why, again, said in the past, Jerusalem was not created, as it tells us in Ezekiel 16, until Israel was brought out of Egypt. That's when Yah started setting up, you understand, the two anointed that stand on each side of Yah. Zechariah chapter 4, right? The 110th Psalm. And again, in the 110th Psalm, discard verse 4, this mention of Melchizedek. That's an implant, because this character never existed. It's a mythical character, just like the main character in the New Testament. That whole New Testament was conceived by the descendants of Esau. And they've implanted these things and removed things out of the book of remembrance to create a certain thought, to have us and man thinking a certain way. See, just like in this 53rd chapter of Yeshaya, as Jacob Yahadassah brought to me, they've intermingled the priesthood, the high priesthood, okay, in this 53rd chapter, because it's talking about, again, the governor, but they've been intermingled this about, and I'll pick it up what they, says, verse 4, right? Surely he hath borne our griefs and carried our sorrows, yet we did esteem him stricken, smitten of Yah, and afflicted. Again, this is kind of, you understand, talking about the governor too, because you can be brokenhearted and of a contrite spirit, right? And that, as I just read in the Psalms, right, what David wrote, right, in that 34th Psalm, broken heart and a contrite spirit, right? That's, we put that before Yah in our supplications. But that's our broken heart and a contrite spirit, right? But again, it's the high priest, okay? He's the only one that can make intercession for the sins of Israel, and anybody else for that matter, okay? But definitely for the sins of Israel. He's the one that actually, the altar of incense, the Day of Atonement, the one day in a year that he burns incense on that altar for incense. It's the only thing that goes on that altar to be burned is incense, right? Once a year for the Day of Atonement for the sins of the people, That's for the high priest to do, right? Verse 5, but he was wounded for our transgressions, he was bruised for our iniquities, the chastisement of our peace was upon him, and with his stripes we are healed. Again, they've intermingled these things, okay? Again, the high priest makes atonement for the sins and iniquity of Israel, right? And again, you understand, strangers, they make, want to make an atonement, they got to bring their offering to the high priest, right? To Yah. That's how it works, right? You follow me? Because again, Yah doesn't eat any of these offerings as he speaks of in the book, right? Everything under the whole heaven and above and beneath belongs to Yah. He created everything, right? So the offerings and the tithes and whatnot are not for him. Therefore, the priesthood and the Levites. The Levites, as I said, you understand, Yah took the tribe of Levi to himself for killing the firstborn man, woman, and beast of Egypt. Okay, so now the offerings, that are offered up to Yah go to the Levites, the best, 10% of the best of what anybody, offers to Yah, right? The best. They give that to the Levites. And in so doing, they're giving it to Yah. And then the Levites take a tenth of the best and heave that up to the priesthood. That's how it works, right? So they the ones that eat the offerings, the offerings that are to be eaten. They're the ones that take the monies and the jewels, what have you, right, that are offered up to Yah. And they take that, right, and they take care of the temple. It was the tabernacle first, then it became the temple. They take care of the temple, make sure everything, they take care of their houses, whatever, repairs whatever might be needed, right? They eat whatever needs to be eaten, right? I mean, you know, they drink whatever's, the wine or what have you is offered up. You know what I'm saying? That's how it works. Because they don't get any inheritance of land. Yah is their inheritance because they're ministering to Yah 24/7, 365. See, so we don't have a temple now, right? So like I've said in the past, so these people tell me they tithe. Where you tithing to? It's no temple. That's where the tithes go. Malachi chapter 3. Bring all the tithes into the storehouse. But before you can bring the tithes into the storehouse has to be built. Makes sense, don't it? See? So again, back here in 53, Yeshaya, right? Again, it's the high priest that wears the ephod. David didn't wear any ephod like Esau got over there at Samuel, right? He didn't wear any ephod. And they try to make it look at different times like, when David made a mistake and numbered the people, right? Which he shouldn't have done. That's only done on the Day of Atonement, right? The high priest and whatnot takes up an offering, right? Pretty sure I got that right? I mean, David is not supposed to do that, see? And he did it, messed up, and that's when Yah, gave him a choice between three different things of affliction. He chose, let us fall in the hands of Yah, not whatever, don't let us fall in the hand of man, right? Greater the mercies of Yah. And so Yah put a plague on them, killed 70,000 people, right? We see this in 2 Samuel, right? Chapter 23, chapter 24. Again, 1 Chronicles 21:22. That's when Yah revealed, right, where the temple was going to be. Again, as I've said in the past, David was like 64, 65, 66 years old. He doesn't have any more, maybe about 4 to 6 years to live. Solomon is like about 9, 10, 11 in my mind. You understand? Solomon's right in there because we can see, right, in 1 Chronicles chapter 29 when David gathered all the people together and told them, you understand, this is where Yah's temple is going to be, here in Salem. This is where he's placed his name. And again, as YHWH and Jacob have said to me, and a lot of times, I'm talking to YHWH because Jacob's at work, but sometimes he's listening, but he's at the job. But, we talk, and as she said, her and Jacob peep that generally, anytime Esau wants to hide something, this is when he got like, 2 or 3 different ways he's written a thing in here. For instance, right? Again, when you see Salem, it's also called Shalem, Sechem, huh? You follow me? But it's talking about Salem that became Jerusalem. But that didn't happen until Yah revealed, where he was going to place his name forever. And that was, again, when, was a Gad, right? Yah sent Gad to tell David, you want to stay the plague, you got to make an offering to Yah. David, 1 Chronicles chapter 21, he was on his way to Gibeon, the great high place, which indicates that they had more than one high place, but Gibeon was the great high place, right? And they shouldn't have had any high places at all. That's against the law. You're not supposed to have any high places, okay? Where you make offerings, right? That's in the law. David was on his way to Gibeon, and what does it say? Just like Yah did Balaam, he blocked him with an angel with the sword drawn. And when David saw the angel with the sword drawn, he was afraid. He couldn't go to Gibeon. Now Yah communicates to him through Gad, right? Now you got to go up into the threshing floor of where? Ornan In one place it says, or Aranah in another place. See, they trying to hide something. You know what I'm saying? In one place it say or, in another place it say Aranah, right? The Yebusite. You got to go up into the threshing floor, right? Which was where? Up in Salem, Mount Zion, huh? The Mount of Yah, like we see over in Genesis. What did Yah say to Abraham? He said, you know, you offer up Isaac to me. And what does it say? Abraham took Isaac and was going up into Moriah. They got Moriah, M-O-R-I-A-H, Moriah, the Mount of Yah, the Mount of He who creates. Salem, same place. Follow me? And as I said to some brothers here a few nights ago, again, matter of fact, no, that was last night. Again, you know, Yah didn't tell Abraham, don't kill the boy, for now I know that you would not withhold anything from me. Tell me what Yah doesn't know. Everything is before Yah. He's the first and the last. So again, what did he say to Abraham? Don't kill the boy, Abraham, for now Isaac knows. That was a lesson for him, not for Abraham. Now Isaac knows that you don't put anything before me. Anything or anybody, including yourself. Right? Okay, but he was going up into that same mount. We see the same thing with Israel, right? Yaakov, right? When he came back to Canaan, right? He bought the land, pitched his tent before where? Shalem. See, they trying to disguise. It's Salem, same place. Sikkim, Shalem, Salem. You understand what I mean? They got about 3, 4 different names for the same place. They trying to hide that. See, because again, we've talked about this before, right? When you go over to the first time you see, they got Jerusalem, J-E-R, right? The first time you see it is in the book of YHWH, if I'm not mistaken. I think around chapter 5, right? That's the first time you see that term. But it wasn't no Jerusalem then. That wasn't created until, you know, that didn't start becoming Jerusalem until 1 Chronicles chapter 22. Verse 1, when David realized, okay, he told, this is where the temple's going to be. This is where Yah's placing his name forever in Salem. So he went up with his entourage. They don't tell you who's in the entourage, though, right? And when he gets up there, he purchases the land, right? They give you 2 different names, like I say, for Ornan or Aranah, the Yebusite, right? They give you 2 different prices that David, you understand, supposedly paid. They trying to hide something, right? It's 600 in one place, 800 in another. They trying to hide the situation, right? And then they say David raised up an altar, reared up an altar and offered. He didn't do that, huh? Because when he went up on Salem, when y'all made it known, he had to, you understand, make an offering. He purchased the land from Ornan or Adonai the Jebusite. But you know who was with him, who went up with him? Because they was what, dressed in sackcloth? You understand? Heads covered. Zadok, the high priest. Huh? Zadok, the high priest, like you see in 2 Samuel chapter 15. What did David say when he was on the run from Absalom? What did he say to Zadok? Art thou not a seer? He the high priest. Okay? Like I said, they took out of the book. The illuminated Edomites took out of the book when Yah entered into an everlasting covenant with Zadok and his seed. They took that out of the book. We don't have that. Why? Because they're trying to combine the governorship line and the high priest line into one. That's why they put Melchizedek back there in Genesis 15. That's why, like here in the 53rd chapter of Yeshaya, the 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th verse, right? You see what it says here? I'll read verse 6 again. All we like sheep have gone astray. We have turned everyone to his own way, and Yah had laid on him the iniquity of us all. Again, the high priest, that's why he bears the ephod and the breastplate. Leviticus chapter 16, right? He can only make atonement for sin for Israel. Okay. Verse 7, he was oppressed and he was afflicted, yet he opened not his mouth. He is brought as a lamb to the slaughter, and as a sheep before a shearers is dumb, so he opens not his mouth. Now, again, this is Israel, the middle passage, right? But that was judgment of Yah. But they didn't know they was Israel. All them, when the cutoff, 104 BCE, you didn't have an Israelite on earth that knew they was Israel. And you didn't start having Israelites know that they were Israel until 1896, 2,000 years. Hosea chapter 6 at the top. That's when the seal came off the book, which is talked about in the first vision Daniel got, 1136 to 1210 Daniel, that Esau put at the end of the book of Daniel. Again, that's why Daniel didn't understand it. That's the first vision he got. The illuminated Edomite has attacked this book and put it in like a puzzle form and tried to prime our minds to think that, you understand, to prepare us for this mythical character that they created in, when they created the New Testament, right? And again, as I said to the brothers last night, as I've said to all of you in the past at different times, when we look at Deuteronomy chapter 32, what did Moshe, this is 1400 BCE, what did Moshe tell our forefathers? He said, you're going to go across this Jordan, you're going to get land, you understand, you're going to get houses you didn't build, you're going to get wells you didn't dig, vineyards you didn't plant, you're going to wax and rich in silver and gold, but as time goes by, your offspring are going to turn away from Yah, and they're going to start worshiping new idols and images, newly raised up, not Yah, but devils. Now that's 1400 BCE. The first dominion of man, the Babylonian dominion, didn't come on the scene till like 800 years later. 606 BCE is when Nebuchadnezzar came and got the first bunch. That Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, commonly called Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, was in. As I've said in the past, they were the only four out of that bunch that stayed with Yah. Everybody else made a covenant with Nebuchadnezzar. Okay? So that's in the first bunch, 606 that was taken up. That's again why we know they came out in 536, 70 years in Babylon. Right? I just experienced this past week. That's why, again, when you're looking up historical data, right, a lot of places they're going to tell you Babylon was knocked off by Cyrus and the Persians, right, in 539. We know that can't be true because there's no way you can get from 539 to 536 in 70 weeks. Daniel chapter 9. When Yah sent Gabriel to tell Daniel it's 70 weeks left to finish off the 70 years. There's no way you can get from 539 to 536 in 70 weeks, but you can get to 536 BCE from 538 BCE. And you'll see that, you understand, you'll see that year is given in different historical data as the year Babylon fell to the Persians. Okay? And again, the Persians. Now, the Medes had been with the Persians, but yet were with the Persians, but it's the Persians because it happened under Cyrus the Great, and he was Persian. See, you follow me? See, so again, they've tampered, trying to combine and trying to obscure the high priesthood. Like I said, that's why they took Yah's actual, coming to Zadok, either himself personally, you know what I'm saying, you understand, or sending an angel or a prophet. You understand, like we see Yah did, probably sent a prophet. We see he did that with David with Nathan, right? 2 Samuel chapter 7. And then more than likely, this could have been the way what he did was a dope. But that's been taken out of the book. You don't see that consecration. Just like I said, like you don't see the consecration of Samuel. Okay, but like Yahadassah, Jacob and Yahadassah brought to me, you understand? Eli had to consecrate Samuel. He had to, in the sight of the people, because Yah changes not. And this is what we see in Exodus. Do we not? This is what Moshe did with Aharon at Yah's word and his sons. Consecrated them in the sight of the people. Right? The Levites had to be consecrated in the sight of the people. But we don't see that with Samuel. But that had to happen. Eli had to consecrate Samuel as high priest before he died. But that's been taken out of the book. But we do see Samuel was high priest. Even though, you understand what I mean? He was the high priest. The only priest to be on a circuit. As Jacob said to me, he said, that's why they got circuit court. They just, all they do is imitate and emulate, these Edomites. In this system they set up here in the daughter of Babylon. That's why you got circuit court judges here in this daughter of Babylon. Right? Because that's what Samuel was. He was on a circuit. So these are the things that, Yah constantly brings out. And again, as I said because I was having a conversation with Hadassah here last week, very passionate, and she sees things, and Jacob, they counsel together as a husband and wife should. Okay, and Yah has brought things through them to me, to this movement, that are very relevant. Okay, another thing that they brought to me over here in Genesis. When you read in Genesis and you read chapter 11, Genesis to verse 8, is before chapter 10, Genesis. When you read chapter 11, 1 through 8, then you should go over to chapter 10 and pick up chapter 10, Genesis, read it all the way throughout. And then when you finish chapter 10 at verse 32, then you come back to chapter 11, verse 9, Genesis. That's the order. And again, it makes sense. Okay? They've tampered. They being the illuminated Edomites. As I said to these brothers yesterday, that's what they was doing in the caves of Qumran. 2nd century, 1st century BCE, 1st, 2nd century CE AD. And they've been fooling with the book coming up through the CE ADs. I've read it many years ago. They've been fooling with the book up until or at least the New Testament anyway, 1967. You see, because I'm sure, as I'm pretty sure I've expressed in the past, they saw more holes from what their forefathers had done. It was holes in it, and they trying to cover this stuff up. Not necessarily in the book, because now the book's been disseminated. But when you go and read other books, they tell you, oh, well, see, this is such and such because of such and such. Trying to cover up that hole that they saw in their scenario that they created when they created the New Testament. And then holes in the book that their forefathers, when they, like I said, in the caves of Qumran, when they had the book of remembrance, because that's all it was then. It wasn't no New Testament. Okay? Because like I said before, what Shalom said, he got a book that tells you, right? Catholicism didn't come on the scene till 270 CE AD. And when he told me that, I'm like, I'm in total harmony with that, because I had said, prior to that, in times past, it couldn't have been no Christianity before 135 CE AD. because the Edomites were trying to establish, this Hasidism, prior to that. You follow what I'm saying? That turned into Judaism, as it's called today. See? And again, as I said to these brothers yesterday, Catholicism didn't rear its head till 270 CE AD, 41 years later is when they legalized it under Constantine in 311, right? And it kept adding and making stuff changes, coming up through time, right? They took the name of Yah out of the book, as these Edomites were called Mezerites, between the 4th and 9th century CE AD. Took Yah's name out, replaced it with El Adonai, that evolved into God and Lord. So, that's just the reality of it, right? And again, Daniel chapter 2. Everything that has come on the scene, ideologies, right? Inventions, from that head of gold all the way through these feet and toes, pot iron, part clay. Well, what does it say in Daniel 2? When the stone cut out without hands out of the side of the mountain, the clay stone, right, hits the image of the 4 dominions of man in the feet and toes, pot iron, part clay. What happens to the image? It starts to crack up and crumble until it's blown away. And what does it say? No parts of it remain in the earth. And once the stone hits, the stone starts to grow. That's a simultaneous action. When this process is completed, the stone has grown into a mountain that fills up the whole earth. That's when the whole earth will be the dominion of Yah forever. Because it has come full circle from the first dominion of Yah on earth, and it's come back to the first to the dominion of Yah, which was the first dominion of Yah, and will be the last dominion on earth forever, right? And all of these inventions, as we know them, refrigeration, coolants that pollute the air, right? You understand what I mean? Styrofoam, petrochemical products that pollute, you understand, the air that we breathe, causing problems, right? Combustible engines, diesel engines, right? Spewing out soot, pollution, smokestack industry, right? Computers, what I'm on right now, okay? Because again, they talking about they gonna implement 5G. You call, you understand? He told me it's 10G. Because YHWH mentioned that the other week when we was talking. She said, yeah, it's 10G. I said, oh, that's right. That's what you call. Okay, Jacobus told me, because he works in this, this type of engineering type of thing where he knows about this. And another thing, what they revealed to me, I've been saying is lightning, at different times that Yah comes down and hits the sacrifice, and now they say it's fire, it's real fire. And when they hit me with it, I'm like, okay, I can see that, because they said, Yaakov was like lightning is like a polarity. You know what I mean? It's quick, but like they were saying to me, Yadasa said, you it's the fire, because it's on the altar, and it clicked. I like, yeah, you're right. It's real fire that Yah sends down, because it takes fire, right, to cook that blood out of the flesh, right? Like you understand, the Passover, right? Like I just said in the past, when you understand, I was having a conversation with one of the brothers, they used to be, he used to be with the Demona movement, the ICL, right? And he engineered this conversation some years ago, and we was talking, and he was like, you can't cook the blood out of the meat. I said, I don't know why. I do it all the time. And that's what came up to my mind, uh, when they were saying this. Y'all does say, it's real fire, yo. And your code, he's like, yeah, that lightning it's like polarity. It's quick. And that's what I was thinking it was, but it's not. It's real fire that Yah sends down for that, on that sacrifice, to consume that sacrifice. Like so-called Second Kings, chapter 7 at the top. Okay? See, so you know, like the situation with, well, no, that's a little bit different. I was thinking about the Samsons, but that thing, they really set the fire, but it's fire, okay? As all of you out there that, you know, eating like you're supposed to and cook, right? You put that fire to that flesh. That's how you purge that blood out of it. We're not supposed to eat the blood. We're not supposed to eat the fat, right? That's in the law, okay? So again, it's things that only the high priest can do, the priesthood. You know, even the Levites can't do. The priests have to do it, right? And they have certain duties, right? Leviticus 16, right? 18, Numbers chapter 18, right? The priesthood. And again, you know, David didn't make the offering to stay the plague. He bought it, he purchased it. It had to be Zadok. And the priests that were with, they went up, and possibly Levites too. It was possibly the Levites that actually set the altar up. And then the priests, Zadok, and the priests, they prepared the offering and actually put it on the altar. You follow me? And made the offering to Yah to stay the plague. Up in Salem. Because now Yah has revealed, this is where I'm placing my name forever. Right? Jeremiah chapter 25, Daniel chapter 9. The city called by Yah's name, YHWHrusalem. YHWHrusalem. You know, the different ways Esau has written. Salem, Shalem, you understand? Shalem, Salem, Sikkim. Okay? Trying to hide something. Follow me? We have to be aware of these things. That's why, again, Yah brings this illumination to those who are totally committed and submitted in their heart. But again, you understand? You've got some who, you know, Yah has brought illumination through, and then at some point they turn on a dime and go back into darkness. See? So again, we don't get out of pocket. We don't get before Yah. And when I say that in regards to, like, you know, Sarah, she got ahead of Yah, right? By going getting Hagar, giving Hagar, instead of waiting on Yah to give her the son, like he had told her. Because we don't know how much time elapsed. But she, you understand, got before Yah went and gave Hagar to Abraham. And then what did Yah do? He allowed Hagar to bear, and then Hagar got out of pocket and started vexing Sarai. And Sarai was upset about that, right? And she brought it to Abraham. Abraham said, hey, that's your bondmaid. And then Sarai went and jumped her, put a whipping on her, right? Now we see what Yah, eventually what happened, right? Because Hagar was holding acrimony and animosity, teaching it to Ishmael. We see this exhibited at the weaning, you understand, of Isaac, do we not? That's when Sarai peeped that, she went to Abraham, you got to get rid of this bond woman and her son. Abraham didn't want to do it, but he came, I'm going to make a great nation out of him. 12 sons he shall beget. So we can see, more likely than not, Ishmael was about Yah, the initial Ishmael. Right? Because again, we see that, again, that's what Esau went and got, an Ishmaelite woman, when he saw that Isaac and Rebekah had sent Jacob away, right, to get wives, or wife, should I say, of their own people. So he went and got an Ishmaelite wife, and it looks like, they've changed her name. One place it says Mahalah, another place it says Bashammai. Right? And like Jacob and Hadassah brought to me, but they trying to hide something, and it could be, and they pointed out to me, that Ruel in Genesis 36, that was his mother, the Edomite, Ruel. And Ruel means friends with the strong one, does it not? You follow me? Like Jethro Ruel, friends with the strong one. So this Edomite, his mother was the Ishmaelite, And more likely than not, he raised in the law. He about the law. He about Yah. That's why his name was Ruel, friend to the strong one. It very well could be that Yah is bringing the Edomites that's going to transition into his dominion from that line. Because we know it's not going to be any of the Amalekite line, male or female. We know that, right? Huh? Numbers chapter 24. Because they're going to war against Yah until he wipes them out. Again, Exodus 17. See, so these are the pieces that Yah has revealed and still revealing. Okay? As I said in the past, he don't bring everything through me. And that's a blessing too. I mean, because, you know, who knows? If he did that, at some point I might get the big head. I don't want to ever get like that. See? And he's been teaching me through Yaakov and YHWH some of these things that he allows them to see. And it's a blessing. You know, as I just said to YHWH, because, you know, she's always humble. And Yaakov, man, humble. You understand what I mean? And I told her, blessed be Yah that has brought you and Yaakov to, he can work through and bring me these things that he can teach me. Hey, because I want to learn all the time. See, I have no problem, you know, if somebody can teach me something, just like, you understand, Yah has brought me things through Shalom. Because last night in talking, I said, did you bring them, these guys, did you tell them about, they was talking about this Melchizedek, he done told him, I said, you told him about that Hebrew 7 that you wired me up to? He said, yeah, I showed him that thing. He said, they came back at him and said, you can't make Esau be the, you know, same thing what the Vindicator said to me some years back. You know, you always want to bring Esau out and say he did that. That's right. They did it. They the ones, as I told these brothers last night, that I was talking to. You know, the Edomites, because this, like I said, the brother who's, you know, he, you know, first time I talked with him, he out there on the East Coast. You know what I mean? He saying some things. I listened, but I told him, brother, it's only been the Edomites who have translated this book. Israel never translated it. We didn't have to translate it. Why? Because the people of the world got to come to Israel to get the understanding of this book. And specifically of Israel, they got to come to Yah our righteousness. Right? Which you see over my right shoulder, behind me on the wall. Yah our right. That's where they got to come to get the illumination and the understanding of Yah's word. That's why Yah says in the 49th chapter of Yeshaya, it's a light thing that I'm going to raise you up to gather the preserved of Yisrael. I'm going to also make you a light to the Gentiles, that Yah's salvation can go to the ends of the earth. Because we represent he who creates, the king. You know? Because at times, you know, like when Yaakov and YHWH bring me things, like I said, I talk most of the time with YHWH because she's at home. You know, a lot of times, sometimes Yaakov is on the phone, he's listening, but he's at the job. But we talk, and YHWH, you know, Yah's working through her verbally most of the time, right? And things that her and Yaakov, Yah has brought to them together, right? And then we're talking, and sometimes, you know, she brings me things, I'm listening, and I might not see it immediately, right? Or I've got, you know, because again, iron sharpens iron, right? And so, you know, she'll bring me something, I'll come back and say something else, and she, you know, she's okay, and then, you know, we sharpen it, you know what I mean, each other, right? That's how we are. And that's a good thing. And then, you know, sometimes she's passionate, you know, and she like apologizes. I say, hey, everything's good. You know, I ain't got no problem. Okay? Iron sharpens iron. Okay? See, the thing is that as I've told her, and this applies to Jacob and then you know, everybody, I don't want you to be wrong. I just want us to be right. Okay? I just want us to be right. I'm not in competition with anybody. I'm in pursuit of Yah. I just want to know and understand and deal from the highest level of integrity, uprightness, and righteousness, and honor. Because I pray for this all the time. I don't want the servants of the Most High, wherever we are, all whose heart is one with Yah, wherever you are on the face of the earth, whether you're an Israelite, Hamite, Shemite, even an Edomite, if you totally committed to Yah, our righteousness the King. I don't want those of us who serve Yah with all our heart and soul, who are about Yah with all our heart and soul, to be under this fourth dominion of man 1 second longer than need be. Definitely don't want any Israelite, okay? And you understand? And definitely those who make up his arm, which are descendants of Jerusalem, who's totally committed and submitted to be in this captivity 1 part of 1 second longer than need be, to be under this double curse. And if you're an Israelite that's not a descendant of Jerusalem, but you plugged into the Jerusalem movement, to be under the single curse you're under 1 second longer than need be. Because, as, Yadasa expressed to me very passionately and compassionately, she wants this to end. I'm in total harmony with that. Another brother called yesterday off the West Coast. He said this to me a few weeks back, and he said it again yesterday, last night. He like, Yehuda, he was getting ready to ask me, Yehuda, what do you think we... I said, bro, before I said, hey, I don't know, bro. I'm waiting on y'all. That's what we got to do. He had to kind of laugh. He said, I know. I said, that's what we got to do. We waiting on y'all. Simple as that. See? And when Yah, as I look at it, tantamount to the 10th plague on Egypt, when he runs these Edomites that's over in the land, and they telling me they flocking up into the land of Israel more and more all the time. Okay? Yeah, Yosha just told me last week it was a bunch of them that's gone over to the land. Okay? Yes, that a man. I'm like, yeah, so Yah's bringing them over there for judgment. Not that they're going to get judged in Israel. They're going to get judged in their land. But when Yah suddenly makes them run away from her into their land and makes them like the burnings of lime, Yeshaya 33:12, huh? Yeshaya chapter 34, huh? That's, now we know, it's not going to be long at all, because the elite have to come to the arm of Yah in total humbleness. Okay? That's what you see in Yeshaya 49, Yeshaya chapter 60, right? Daniel 7 verse 13, to bring Yah's movement to the king like a present. Okay? That's what I'm waiting on. And until then, read, study, pray, and do.